Every major AI company told you that by 2026, you'd be generating broadcast quality video from a single sentence. And I need to show you exactly how that promise collapsed. Think back to 2023. Runway dropped Gen 2. Pika launched. Every tech publication ran the same headline. AI video is here and it's going to change everything. Then 2024 hit and Sora showed up. With a demo reel that looked like it was made by a studio, the hype peaked. Social media was convinced that within 18 months, Hollywood would be irrelevant. Video editors were updating their resumes. Marketing agencies were already calculating how much they'd save. It's now 2026, and here's the brutal reality. AI video is genuinely useful, genuinely improving, and genuinely overhyped, all at the same time. The question isn't whether this technology works. Some of it works remarkably well. The question is whether it does what the people selling it told you it would do. And for most of you watching this, the answer is no. Not yet, not even close. Let me show you exactly what's happening. What these tools actually produce, why the demos look nothing like your results, and what a real working AI video workflow looks like in 2026. Let me show you what these tools actually produce when you push them past the demo reel. Start with the big names. Sora, now commercially available, can produce genuinely impressive short clips. We're talking 5 to 10 seconds of visually coherent footage when your prompt is simple. Your subject is generic, and physics doesn't matter too much. A mountain landscape at sunrise? Stunning. A woman walking through a forest? Passable. Two people having a conversation in an office while one of them hands the other a document? Watch the hands, count the fingers. Watch what happens to the document when it passes between them. You'll see the problem immediately. This is what researchers at the MIT Media Lab called the consistency wall in a paper published in late 2025. The core issue isn't resolution, it isn't style, it's temporal coherence. The ability for an AI model to maintain stable, physically plausible objects across multiple frames when those objects interact with each other or with a human being. Current diffusion-based video models fundamentally struggle here because they generate frames with high local fidelity but weak global memory. Each frame looks good in isolation. Together, they often fall apart. Independent testing by the AI video benchmarking group Hallucination Reports, which has become one of the most cited resources for production teams evaluating these tools, found that across 17 major AI video platforms tested in Q1 2026, fewer than 12% of generated clips passed what they call a continuity audit, meaning a human reviewer couldn't identify at least one physically implausible event within the clip. That's hands morphing, objects disappearing mid-scene, text that shifts and warps frame to frame, backgrounds that restructure themselves between cuts. Think about what that means if you're trying to use this professionally. You're not just fixing a color grade or trimming a clip. You're identifying and either correcting or discarding the majority of what you generate. That takes time. In many cases, it takes more time than the traditional production workflow you were trying to replace. Now here's the part that nobody in the AI video marketing ecosystem wants to say out loud. The demos that went viral, the ones that convinced investors to pour billions into this space and convinced creators to abandon their editing suites, those demos were the product of intensive prompt engineering, cherry-picked outputs, and often significant post-production touch-up. He's right. And here's why that gap exists. These systems are evaluated and marketed on their ceiling, not their floor. You're seeing the best 5% of what the model can generate. The other 95% is what fills your queue at 2 a.m. when you have a deadline. The real-world impact of this is showing up in the numbers. A survey of over 800 content creators conducted by the Creator Economy Report in February 2026 found that 61% of respondents who had adopted AI video tools in 2024 reported spending more total time on video production after adoption than before. Not less, more. Because the workflow shifted from one difficult task, filming and editing, to 2 difficult tasks, prompting and curating, then still editing. The promise was efficiency. The reality for most people has been complexity. Here's the business model nobody wants to explain to you. And once you see it, the whole AI video gold rush starts making a lot more sense. These companies are not primarily in the video business. They're in the compute business and the data business. When you generate a video on Runway or Pika or any of the subscription platforms, 2 things happen simultaneously. First, you pay a monthly fee for credits that evaporate faster than you expect. Second, and more importantly, your prompts, your generations, and your feedback become training data. The product they're actually building isn't the video you generated. It's the next version of the model, trained on your creative labor. This is why the pricing structure looks the way it does. Most of these platforms operate on a tiered credit model designed to get you hooked on a free or low-cost entry tier, then push you toward a premium subscription the moment you actually try to use the tool at any meaningful volume. Kling, which became one of the dominant players through 2025, moved from a generous free tier to a paid-only structure within 8 months of launch. Sora's commercial pricing landed at a point that makes casual individual use, affordable, and serious production use very expensive, very quickly. It's like being handed a sample at a grocery store. The sample is great. The full price for the amount you'd actually need to eat is a different conversation entirely. Meanwhile, the venture capital cycle driving all of this has a very specific incentive structure. These companies need to show growth metrics, users, generations, engagement, to justify valuations that, in several notable cases, have exceeded the entire annual revenue of mid-sized film studios. That means the incentive is not to be honest with you about limitations. It's to get you in the door, show you the ceiling, and let you discover the floor yourself after you've already invested time, money, and creative energy into a workflow built around their product. When I realized this pattern wasn't accidental, that it's the standard playbook for consumer AI tools, I stopped evaluating these platforms on their demo reels entirely. I started asking a different question. What does this tool do reliably on the third attempt for someone with moderate technical skills and a real deadline? That question changes everything about which tools are actually worth your time. If you've been frustrated with AI video tools, if you felt like the results you get look nothing like what you saw in the launch video, you weren't doing it wrong. The gap between the pitch and the product is real. It's documented. And it's structural. It's not a bug in your workflow, it's a feature of the business model. And understanding that is the first step toward using these tools in a way that actually works for you. So here's what actually works in 2026. Not what the landing pages promise, but what I've tested, broken, and rebuilt into a workflow that produces real results. The most important mindset shift is this. Stop thinking about AI video as a replacement for traditional production. Start thinking about it as a specific purpose tool that solves specific purpose problems. The creators and production teams getting genuine value out of these platforms aren't trying to do everything with them. They've identified the 3 or 4 narrow use cases where AI video consistently outperforms traditional workflow on cost and speed, and they've built everything else the traditional way. Use case 1, and this is the highest ROI application I've found. Across the board is B-roll generation for talking head content. If you run a YouTube channel, a podcast with a video component, or any kind of interview-based format, you spend a significant amount of time either sourcing stock footage or cutting away from your main shot. AI video tools are genuinely good at generating generic ambient footage, cityscapes, nature, abstract visual concepts, establishing shots that don't require precise physical coherence because nothing in them is interacting with anything else. For this use case, tools like Kling and Runway Gen 3 are producing results that are indistinguishable from mid-tier stock footage to the average viewer. You can generate 60 seconds of usable B-roll in about 20 minutes of prompting and curation. Compare that to the time you'd spend browsing ArtGrid or Storyblocks, and it's a meaningful efficiency gain. The implementation is straightforward. Keep your prompts to under 20 words. Describe the environment, the lighting, and the camera movement, nothing else. Slow drone shot over a rainy city at night, blue and orange neon reflections. That's a good prompt. A bustling metropolitan area showcasing the intersection of modern technology and urban life. That's a bad prompt, and it will produce bad results. Specific, visual, physical language. Avoid abstract concepts. Avoid implied narratives. Generate 5 to 8 clips per scene you need to cover, cull aggressively, keep the 2 or 3 that hold together, and move on. Use case 2 is concept visualization for projects that haven't been filmed yet. Pitch decks, mood boards, pre-visualization for larger productions. This is an area where imperfection is tolerable because the output is communicative, not final. If you're pitching a brand campaign or trying to visualize a scene for a client before committing to a shoot, AI video gives you a fast, cheap way to show rather than tell. The consistency issues that kill AI video in final production aren't a problem here because everyone in the room knows it's a rough concept. Tools that excel here are the ones with strong style control. Right now, that's Runway with its reference image input and Luma Dream Machine for certain aesthetic styles. Use case 3 is short-form social content for brands that need high volume and low production cost. Product-focused content where you control the variables tightly, avoid complex human interaction, and can afford a high discard rate. One important note here, many brands using AI video for social content are now required in several markets, including the EU and parts of the United States, to disclose AI-generated material. Check the disclosure requirements in your market before you build a production workflow around this. The regulatory landscape shifted considerably in late 2025, and it's still evolving. Now, here's the practical breakdown for building a real workflow. Step 1, choose your platform based on your dominant use case, not on general reputation. For B-roll, Kling currently offers the best consistency to price ratio in my testing. For style-specific or aesthetically distinctive content, Runway Gen 3 gives you more creative control. For rapid iteration on concepts, Luma is the fastest generation loop. Don't subscribe to all of them. Pick one and learn it deeply. Step 2. Invest in prompt libraries, not prompt formulas. The people getting the best results aren't using a magic template. They've built a personal library of prompts that work for their specific content type, tested and refined through iteration. Start with a base prompt that works, save it, and modify it incrementally rather than starting from scratch every time. Step 3. Build your quality filter before you start generating. Decide in advance what disqualifying failures look like for your use case. Morphing hands, background inconsistency, text distortion, whatever matters most for your specific output, and cull at that checkpoint. Don't try to save a clip that fails your filter. The time you spend trying to make a bad clip work is almost always more than the time it takes to generate a new one. Step 4. Keep audio and AI video in completely separate workflows for now. Every AI video platform either has no audio generation or weak audio generation. If your content requires synced speech, realistic ambient sound, or music that responds to visual pacing, handle that with dedicated audio tools, 11 Labs for voice, Suno or Udio for music, traditional audio editing for everything else, and marry it to your video in post. Trying to do everything in one AI platform will produce mediocre results across the board. One honest disclaimer here. If you're in enterprise video production, broadcast, or any context where consistency and legal clearance on output matter at a high level, the current state of AI video tools is not a replacement for traditional workflow. There are real questions around copyright, around output ownership, and around liability for AI-generated content in commercial contexts that haven't been fully resolved. The intellectual property landscape for AI video output is still being litigated. Consult your legal team before building a commercial production pipeline on top of these tools. Here's what I think is actually happening, and why it matters more than whether Sora or Kling or whatever launches next month wins the benchmark war. We are in the middle of a genuine technological transition that is being narrated by people with strong financial incentives as a revolution that has already happened. It hasn't. AI video is real. It's improving at a rate that is genuinely impressive if you track the year-over-year progress rather than comparing it to the hype from 2 years ago. But it is not where the demos said it would be, and the gap between where it is and where it needs to be for broad creative displacement is still significant. That matters because decisions made during this period about what skills to invest in, what workflows to build, what tools to pay for, have real consequences. Creators who abandoned their editing skills because they believed AI video would make them obsolete have spent 18 months generating mediocre AI clips instead of developing a craft that still has enormous value. Production companies that restructured around AI video capabilities they assumed were coming made hiring and investment decisions based on a timeline that hasn't materialized. The most resilient position right now is to stay genuinely bilingual, fluent in both traditional production skills and AI-assisted workflow. Not because AI video won't improve, but because the people who understand both will be able to make smarter decisions about when each approach is the right tool. The person who only knows AI prompting is dependent on a platform. The person who understands the underlying creative problem and has multiple ways to solve it has actual leverage. You started this video wondering whether AI video was living up to its promise. Now you have a real picture of where the technology actually stands, why the marketing doesn't match the product, and what a working workflow looks like. You're not behind if you haven't gone all in on these tools, and you're not paranoid for noticing that the results don't look like the demos. Millions of creators have noticed the same thing. The ones winning right now are the ones who adjusted their expectations to match reality and built their workflow around what actually works, not what was promised. Do that. Build on solid ground, not hype, and stay skeptical. Not because this technology isn't real, but because the people selling it, you have every reason to make it sound more complete than it is. If this gave you an honest picture of where things actually stand, hit subscribe. I track this space week by week, and I'll tell you when the capabilities actually match the pitch, and when they don't. Drop a comment and let me know. Are you actively using AI video in your workflow right now, or still waiting for the technology to catch up? I read everyone.